Hello, this is Jenny from Healing the Wounded Heart. God, where are you? This was my cry when I was in the middle of despair and depression years ago, feeling totally abandoned by God. I had received his call, responded to him, and gone to Bible college. But then I found myself in a position where I could not even slightly sense his presence with me. Instead, I lived in a kind of spiritual black hole. God, where are you? Suffering with unexplained physical pain, I went to the doctors, who then referred me to a specialist for tests. I was later diagnosed with cancer on Christmas Eve. In all of our stressful moments, we are impatient. We all struggle to trust, to believe that God really will keep his promises. As Christians, we are encouraged to believe and trust what the Bible tells us. In the Old Testament, God's people, the Israelites, doubted God's presence with them. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, they were preparing to enter into the promised land, knowing that their leader Moses would stay behind. And so Moses sought to reassure God's people by reminding them in verse 8, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." So our reassurance of God's presence is also found in the words of the Bible. You see, we walk by faith and not by feelings, don't we? This was one of the first things that I learned about God after deciding to follow him. To believe what God says through his word first and foremost should always be our priority rather than upon how we feel at any given moment. Now, when I am in the middle of stress and anxiety, of course I sometimes doubt God's presence or even his goodness and purpose for me, as I have already mentioned. But let's be honest, I think we can all identify with entertaining these doubts, particularly at difficult times in our lives. After all, this is our natural human response, isn't it? However, the promise that God is always with us remains a cornerstone of our faith today. Indeed, Revelation 21 verse 3 concludes with these words: "God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them." So, where is God? He is right here, right now, right with you, right with me, right with us. Right with us always, ready to hear our prayers. Amen.